Hi there, good morning. Welcome to Sunnyside Journals. Welcome to another little installment of 'Tis the Season. Me working on seasonal journals. So far they've all been Christmassy. I do have one winter journal, winter solstice type journal. But I'm working on the Christmas ones first because I feel like a winter journal, I got a few months ahead of me that I can work on a winter journal. Here's Mrs. Cratchit's holiday household book. And the last time we got together, I was still working on her spine. And it is solid as a rock now. Didn't that turn out cool? Now, I faced a challenge. Thank goodness I was FaceTiming with Nancy from Wishes and Weeds because we had pulled this off together, if you remember, this outer layer of the spine. And then I put these lower layers of the cheesecloth and the lace. And then I was having a gab session with Nancy. And I went to do the sewing like I do with shabby chic journals. And the cover was too wide and it wouldn't fit underneath the foot of my sewing machine. No matter what kind of sewing machine gymnastics I did, it just didn't fit. Thank goodness I was FaceTiming with Nancy at the time because I wouldn't have thought of this. She's so clever. And she said, just stitch the spine and then glue it on with the stitching. And she's right, and it just looks awesome. That's exactly the look I was going for. Now, I was hoping by using the sewing machine to strengthen the gutters in here, the hinges of the book. So I actually went in and I sewed it by hand in there, just to give it just a little more fortitude. And I'm just so happy with this book. I imagine, you might think, oh, Catherine, that's a machine. Mrs. Cratchit wouldn't have had a sewing machine. Well, yeah, you're right. Most likely she wouldn't have. But maybe she was very good friends with the cobbler in town. And maybe she went down there and said, I have a book. I love it so much. It's starting to fall apart. What would you charge me just to put a little bit of stitching along the spine and hold it back together again? I've done what I can, but I need a bit of help. And I bet she was such a lovely lady. He probably said, just give me the book. I'll just do it. It'll take me a second. And he ran it through his machine, and it wasn't the best job, but because he had to get on to his other work. But she was thrilled with it, and her book is stronger than ever. And we're ready to keep all of her recipes and addresses and such, and strong enough to be able to pass it down to her daughters in the future. So what I want to do now is these corners are quite worn on the ends. The backs are actually worse. Hold on, there we go. The backs are worse than the front. And it's very tempting to want to put gold corners on, but I think Mrs. Cratchit would have made use of fabric scraps to fortify the corners of her book. So that's what we're going to do. Now here's the fabric that I used on the inside of the spine. I had it facing upwards in case that wore away and it started showing through. It'll show through with the pretty side. But in this case, I will put the pretty side up. My camera isn't doing it justice. This actually looks brown on my camera. I don't know whether it's coming across on your screen as brown, but it's definitely a brownish green, but it very much is a greeny brown and looks really nice with this. And I think she would have made do, and certainly in 1843 they would not have had what we think of as Christmas fabrics. So I think she would have used something that was sturdy and sensible, but still pretty. So it already has the lines here on the cover, not on the back. And I'm toying with the idea of whether I should leave those lines there or cover them up. And what I want to do is I imagine in my head, as this book is starting to tell me its story, yes, she's using fabric to reinforce the corners of her beloved book, but that perhaps later on, once Bob started making more money, and then eventually perhaps Scrooge took him in as a partner in his business, and she started just doing little pretty things with her beloved book to make it a little prettier. I just imagine that maybe she ran, you know, some pretty ribbon that came tied around a package. So I've got some, and I want to see which one I like, and we'll make some decisions here. I have some burgundy ones. You know me, burgundy, I prefer burgundy at Christmas over red. I just do. But I also have this really pretty green velvet. I don't think it's the right green. No, it's not. So I have a very skinny burgundy, or I have a wider burgundy. So I guess my first decision is, do I want to cover up these lines? And I think I do, because if I bring it in under the line, let me find a smaller piece so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's a little piece. If I bring it in under the line so that you can see it, let's fold it around. We can put our imagination caps on. So let's imagine that's it. Let's see how we are. I'll bring it down closer. So if we have it there, it's even smaller. And this is a big book. I think it can handle more room, a bigger corner. So I'm thinking I want to cover those lines up. Now don't worry, I know you can see it right now. I want to run the ribbon over the edge, and that way that raw unfinished edge won't show, and it's going to look like that instead. So I was trying to decide whether to use this big one. The big one would certainly be easier for me. Or do I just want this delicate little thin one? And I think I do like the delicate one along that edge, but rather than that wide one. Especially because I'm planning on some metal embellishments on here, and probably a bow to hold it together. Let's do the thin one. Let's go with the thin one. I can always pull it up and lay the heavy one down, right? Right. All right, so let me make sure I am easily in view. Oh, my desk is so covered with things. Oh, and now I just banged the camera with my shoulder. Sorry, you're bouncing around there. Let's get this off. There we go. Okay, we're a little bit off to the side. I'll move it over. There. Right, so I guess the first thing is I have some strips here. I have ironed them, and I actually starched them just to give myself a little more texture to work with. But you know me, I want to choose the right parts that I want. I want quite a bit of red because the book is green. And although Christmas back then, it wasn't necessarily just a focus on red and green the way we have the, you know, you think of Christmas, red and green, first things that come to mind. And don't get me wrong, I know lots of people successfully decorate with other colors at Christmas beautifully. But for the most part, come on, you know, you think about Christmas and somebody says, name a color, Christmas, red and green. We just do. So I want green here and the wine red here. Now I like that red. There's a little bit of red there. There's a little bit of the green. There's a little bit of gold. I like that. That's quite nice too. I just got to make sure I have enough. And then, at least maybe together we can get one corner done. But I will be doing all 4 corners. Yeah, I'm really in love with that. All right, so I want this to be one right there. I'm going to, you know what, I don't like these scissors. Where's the ones I like? There, I like these ones. So I'm going to go up this way. There, and then this way. Probably be easier to use my wheel and a cutting board, but oh well. Okay, now we're going to flip this over. Oh, and it moved. Don't mind me. This just helps me know. Okay, so if that's coming in, then I can bring it in quite a bit more. I can bring it into here. I can take that off. Okay, and then if I'm bringing it there, I can take... I want to have a little bit of overhang because I want this to get tucked in under the new end papers. So there, that will work. My goodness, it's snowing out my window right now. There, I'm just making sure I'm in camera. It's really snowing out there. Our first snowfall of the year. We got quite a bit. Probably, they say by the end of today we'll have about 5 centimeters, which I know for many parts of the world that's not a lot. But for us, for beginning of December, that's a good little snowfall. But it is very mild out there. It will not stay. They say that this will be melted and gone by tomorrow. But for today, it's very pretty. All right, so that's good. I will actually use it as a template to cut a few more. And you know me, I'm going to want to make sure that they're all pretty. Because that I'm happy with. So, let's see if I like that. And I do. All right, let's just cut that along there. Yep. Let's keep going. Oh, all right. I'm happy with that. Let's do it again. Yeah, that's going to look pretty. And let's see if this one works out. I wonder if I want one with a bit more green. At least one of them with a bit more of the green. And yeah, let's do a bit of green maybe on the back. So, I don't know where I found this fabric. It's an offcut from something. It was thrifted. could see around one edge of it that it was sort of where either a sleeve was cut out or something. Somebody had cut a pattern on it or off of it. All right, I want this little fringe gone. I'm going to try and put my overhead light on, and let's see if it's too glary or not. Okay, hopefully that's not too awful for you. It's easier on my eyes. It's quite overcast today. So I'm just going to take this off. I'll be running the ribbon over the edge, so you will not see this raw edge when we're done. I think these ones are okay. No, let's take this one off. These fluffies wafting around here. That one's fine. All right, so these are good. Oh, there's our... I want to write myself a little note because I want to measure. What that is. So to the corner is 1.5, more or less. Maybe 1 3/8. Yes, it's more like 1 3/8. Or pardon, 3/16. No, 1 3/8. Yeah. I'm really bad at mathing. Me and the mathing, we don't get along. Never have. Thank goodness for calculators. All right, so I don't need that note actually. So now I'm wondering if I should just cut myself some more patterns, because I'm going to have to take those corners off. Maybe I should glue them on and then just cut the corner off. I could do that. Then it won't matter. Let's do it. All right, let me choose the ones I want for the front and we'll just get it done. Now, I'm sorry, this big book. I'm going to come back again. There we go. I'm going to decide my showcase ones. The front cover, right? That's our showcase. Do I want that? Do I want a bit of green? I do love that red. No, I love that one. I think these will go on the back. There we go. Decision made. All right. And we need 3-in-1. Going to cover up the black stripes. See? Let me come close again. There we go. I'm going to want my little, let's make sure I've got all the flakies off this. This is just a silicone makeup brush. Maybe I want a bigger one. Hold on. All right, let's do this top one. Wonder what kind of glue Mrs. Cratchit would have used. Probably some dreadful smelling stuff that turns out to be horribly dangerous. The the good old days. So I'm going to use that line as my guide. But I'm not going to go over it because, as I said, the ribbon's going to go over it. And overlap it a little bit. There we go. Let's do this one. Sure, I'm in camera. I am. Excellent. I hope you all had a good weekend, if it's the weekend where you are. I mean, it was the weekend. You know what I mean. We're getting closer to December. For those of you who have a busy December, boy oh boy. Just going to take a bit of that off. Don't need it too goopy, but I want a good hold. There we go. And we shall plop it down. That's in my way. I have this big long 18-inch steel metal ruler and it's wonderful and I need it from time to time, but boy, it gets in the way. All right, let's flip this over and see what we need to trim off because that's got to come up a bit and then go over, but I don't want the bulk. This can bulk it up. Am I in camera? No, of course not. Of course not, Catherine. All right, so we're just going to do a little bit of what we learned when we learned to sew. Take some of that off. I'm going to glue that up like that, and then that's going to come over and go down like that. All right, let's just do it. To quote our beloved Nick, let's do it. Let's just do it. I love when she says that. I get a little thrill, I must say. What are you doing? Just want something to push that up with. There we go. And then this comes up like that. So do you see what I did there? I left an amount of fabric that's about the thickness of what the cover is so that it covers that corner of the book that we're working on and it won't show through. Otherwise, if you trim it too short, if you leave it too long, it'll be too bulky and you won't have a nice tailored looking corner. But if you trim it too short, you'll see the old book peeping through and it completely defeats the purpose of putting corners on your book. So it's a little bit of a, you just got to fit it in. It's like cutting the paper when you're wrapping a gift. There we go. And then I'm going to give it a really good press down. While it's wet, it's a little bit malleable. So then you'll have a nice, tidy looking corner like that. How am I for time? 24. Oh, we're good for time. So there we go. Let me show you. Boy. So there's our nice, tidy looking corner. You have time to sort of play with it while it's still wet. So take advantage of that. There we go. That looks beautiful. And then the other side, here I'll show you what I was thinking, because remember our end papers are going to, where can we have a pretend end paper? Pretend this is the end papers. So our end papers will go in like that. What that? Oh my goodness, Catherine. The end papers will go like that. And it just looks so tidy and neat. But we have to put our ribbons on it. Let's do the other corner, and then we'll put the ribbons on. I think we've got enough time. We got 5 more minutes. So we're going to trim this again. I'm going to tilt this a bit. There. Tilt it again. Don't get seasick. There we go. So let's just trim this off a little bit. All right. And I'll put a little bit of glue inside. These corners are a little soft and mushy, so the glue will also help to harden that up. Wait. Again. I don't want, I've spilled some glue there, and I don't want to move my cover and have it end up on the cover, because it dries shiny. I'm going to put that there as protection. So this is going to come up. Let me make sure I'm in camera, and I'm just barely. My goodness. There we go. So bring the push that down. It's trying to split on me, the corner. Bring that up and cover that corner. Let me lift it and show you. So you barely need like 1/4 of an inch. Is that? There. See how much I've got covered on that corner? But here's where you're going to sort of hold that down and lift that up and pat it into place. Like that. That'll look nice. And then I'm going to tuck a little glue underneath. There we go. And of course, am I in? The joys of recording with a phone. Tuck that in. Roll that over the edge. Oh, I see some that's going to try and blurp out, and that's not bad. It won't be under, but I still want to wipe a bit of it off. I'm just giving that some pressure on that corner. There, that looks nice. Here, I'll lift it up so you can see after I get this glue off of me. We'll flip it over. So we now have 2 corners done. And now we're going to put some ribbon on it. So same rule applies. It needs to be a little bit longer because we're going to wrap it around and underneath. Oh. How am I for time? I have a minute. We can do one of these. So I need to leave enough on both sides to give me room. This is a little frayed. To give me room to tuck it. We'll get this one done at least. Now I'm going to be more careful with how much glue I use this time, so that it doesn't squish out and then there's shiny glue, especially on this front one. tiniest little bit. Now I'm just checking to see if there is a front or a back, and there really isn't. I'm going to pat it a bit into place before I give it a, maybe give it a second to start drying a bit before I really give it some pressure. And that way, maybe avoid any kind of glue squishing out. Yeah, that's good. Happy with that. To turn it over. And then we're going to do the same thing here. It's going to go along there. So, tiny little bit. This side's not so nerve-wracking because it's going to be underneath your end papers. Just putting a bit more glue under there to make sure it's well applied. There we go. Oh, I hope I'm all right for time. There. Oh, that's going to look nice. So let's pretend this is our end paper. How am I for time? Oh, you guys, thanks for joining me today. So our corners are going to look beautiful. There we go. It's lovely. We'll talk soon. Bye.